Hello. Hopefully someone out there can hear me. I'm just getting the stream started. I had actually planned to go live about 15 minutes ago, but as fate would have it, my computer had other ideas, and so I had to do a hard restart by pressing the button and holding it down as long as possible, and that is how I am with you right now. So if Benjamin is around, he'll just have to wait a few minutes so I can get this set up and tweet it out. And then we can switch over to him and hear his story, find out what we're going to be talking about tonight, and yeah, hopefully provide him with some valuable insights from my time and see if that helps him for the future. Okay, so let me tweet this out. Okay, here we go. Give me 1 second. And then I also need to log into Google Meet. For anyone just joining, my computer did have a little bit of a hiccup there. So I am just scrambling to get all the pieces together right now. So let's just make sure. That everyone knows what is going on, and then I'll add a picture, and then hopefully we can get started. All right. See, this is why I like doing this stuff before the stream begins. Okay, and then add a link. Okay. All right, let's put that out there. And now we can log into Google Meet and check what's going on. Ready to join? Great. I can move that over to this screen here, move that over to that screen there, switch to this. There we go. That's me. And now I can join. Oh, perfect timing. Just give me 1 second. Okay, apparently I can't change settings while he's there, so we're just gonna have to see how this goes. We should have much better sound than we had last week, so I think I've set everything up correctly to get sound from Benjamin now. Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here. Nice to meet you also. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit on my side. Okay,
So
no,
I
I
was
can't, so
watching
that's fine.
on YouTube.
Oh yes, I saw one viewer and I'm like, that's probably
Yeah.
But that's great. Yeah, thanks for being patient. I was trying to set everything up before the stream began and my whole computer just decided to explode basically. So
That's fine. It's part of tech.
all right, so I'm going to go through, I guess, what we're going to talk about. For anyone who is watching for the first time, the basic idea of these sessions is that I get to know, in this case, Benjamin, a little bit better, what he's doing, what he's done, what he's trying, what his goals are, and then I try to see if I can help in any way. That's basically it. That's the whole idea. So all I know about you so far, Benjamin, is that you're pretty new to starting in web development. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and your history?
Okay, so I'm Benjamin, and I live in Accra, Ghana.
Cool.
And like you said, I started learning web development, or let's say software development in general, just about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so far I've been doing it using the Odin project.
Nice.
I've been going through the lessons there and together with other sources as well, but mainly the Odin project. So before that, I work as a videographer, and also as a graphic designer.
Oh, very cool. All right. So you already have the kind of design visual
Yeah, so
side
front
of things.
end kind of appeals to me a great deal.
Okay, cool, cool. Why don't you tell me, do you mind if I ask how old you are? Is that
Sure, sure. I'm 28.
okay, nice, nice. So you're at a really great stage, I think, to make a transition. I mean, I believe that everyone's at a great stage to transition, but that's a nice age because you're kind of at the stage where you know enough about yourself to feel quite confident in who you are, and you're not like, I guess, at that stage where you're still discovering who you are or what your values are. You probably already know that stuff quite well, which is nice. That's a nice time to make a change. And what made you decide to look into web development?
Okay, so I volunteer for this organization
Mhm.
here in Ghana, and then we go to rural areas where kids have no access to computer at all.
Uh-huh.
And so for about a week or so, we spend time with them. And within that week, when they have access to our computers,
Mhm.
they can do a whole lot of things. And some of the people on our team, they are into software development, so we
Right.
teach them just a little bit, and you can see the enthusiasm that these kids, accept it with, and that kind of attracted me. I was like, okay, let me look into this, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but just maybe the fear of the unknown, it made me always shy away from it. But
Mhm.
this year I decided, come with me, let me just dive into it and see if this is something that I really want to go for. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I guess the natural that so firstly that's so cool. That you get to see that. I think there's always that little moment where someone's brain kind of sparks, the excitement sparks. And I guess with kids the great thing is you can really see that very actively because they're really like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, yeah. And also, one thing is that I recently have been doing some work for a startup,
Mhm.
and it's an e-commerce startup, and I've been doing some graphic designs and some video content for them. And anytime I see these guys, the tech guys, working together, I just want to know what exactly they are doing. I see they open their computer, I see all of these codes written, and sometimes it's a bit intimidating, but
Of
I
course.
just kind of feel attracted to it.
Yeah. Have you spoken to them about your interest in it?
Yes, yes. One is a very good friend of mine. So he introduced me to some resources. Initially, I started with Harvard University's
Mhm.
CS50 course.
Oh
So they
yeah.
have this course that they do. Yeah. So that's where I started with.
Okay, cool. And so has he kind of shown you, I guess, a bit more of how the code is working or what he does with the startup or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I get to speak to him, but initially, sometimes when he speaks, some of the things he talks about, I'm not very familiar with. And so I get all confused and
That's
yeah.
normal. That's totally normal. That's
Yeah,
fine.
but recently, as I've been learning, I'm beginning to gradually just understand just a little bit of some of the things he talks about.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite normal for anyone out there who's wondering. I think I am now 8 months, almost 9 months into my first software engineering job,
Okay.
and I love it. And I think by junior standards, I'm very good. But still, there are these times where a senior will talk to me, and after a few sentences, I have to go, whoa, 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 stop right there. Go back like 5 sentences and try again very slowly.
Exactly, 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 exactly.
So yeah, that's totally normal. Okay, so let's talk about the code. Let's talk about your learning. Um, are you enjoying the Odin project, or what are you liking about the Odin project so far?
Okay, so I like the fact that their platform is a curation. So when they take one topic, they have different contents on it. So sometimes you get
Mhm.
video, sometimes you get
Yeah.
text, and I enjoy both, because if it's always text, it can be boring, and if it's always video, it can be a bit distracting.
Yes.
So yeah, I like the mixture of both, and also they have a great community as well. So I think these are the two things that I really find interesting about the Odin project.
Okay, you mentioned the community. Does that mean you're on the Discord channel?
Yes.
Yes. I love that Discord channel. That I don't know if you know, but the Odin project is also how I started. And
Yeah, yeah, I read your story
oh,
actually.
great. You did your research. And yeah, so it's like I'm such a huge fan of theirs, and that Discord community really I guess gave me the confidence boost that I needed, because I didn't know when I was starting. You know, I was a mum, like a new mum, like with a 1-year-old baby, basically. And I was like, will anyone even want me in tech? Like, do they just want like these young hotshots out of university? Like, do I have a chance? Does anyone even want me there? And being in that community was kind of, I just got so much support and so much encouragement. And I was really like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So then tell me, I already have a bit of an idea. I guess tell us why you wanted to talk to me today.
Okay, so like you mentioned earlier, I just started not long ago,
Mm.
and basically the reason why I'm doing this is that somewhere in the near future I want to get a job in tech,
Yes.
and for doing it full time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I know I'm learning. Eventually, I know I'll pick up the skills,
Hmm.
but then having the skills alone is a different story from communicating to someone that
Yeah.
you have the skills so that they are ready to bring you on board as part of their team. So I want to know what are some of the things that I can do
Hmm.
even while I'm still learning, so that I can position myself in a way that when I'm ready, it wouldn't be much of a struggle,
Hmm.
rather than just wait till I get to a point where I feel okay, I've learned enough. Then now I'm coming to look at what should I do next to get it. So I want to start learning it now before that time comes.
Yeah, it's so smart of you to do that, because that is definitely something I see all the time. People learn, they focus so much on the skills, and they focus so much on the technical side of things, that by the time they actually get to job searching, they really don't, they have the skills, but they don't have any proof of those skills necessarily. And of course, it's one thing to have a great portfolio and to have good portfolio projects. That's one thing, but you have to get people invested enough to look at your portfolio or to look
Exactly.
at your projects. And that's something that a lot of people underestimate, I think. You're in a really good position, I feel, for this, because you already know some people in the industry who are good friends of yours. So, I mean, even if you're not able to get a job with that company, you are still in the position where you can observe how they work. You could potentially ask if you could even shadow someone for a week, and kind of just, I guess, ask little questions every now and then, but mostly just observe. You're also in a position where you know people who could know people who are looking for developers. Oh, we've lost you. Are you there? We've gone blank. Okay, we'll just give Ben a second. No, we've lost him. Um, I'll talk a bit generally in that case, since we've lost Ben. I'll talk about what I would recommend generally to people, which is that, in general, it is always a good idea to foster relationships, whether that is in person or if that is on social media or anything like that. That is totally up to you. I would say any opportunity that you can find where you can work with other people on code and on coding problems, that's an opportunity that you should take. So by that I mean, do you have any hackathons in your area? Do you have any meetups in your area? Do you have a Discord community that you can join? Or are you active on some sort of social media where you can meet other developers in your area? So that's the first thing. One of the things that comes up in this context a lot of the time, for example, I've been in some job interviews now on the other side, and I can say that one of the questions we often ask is, have you actually worked on code with other people? One of the common misconceptions that I see time and again in junior developers is this belief that coding or programming is a very purely technical activity, a very solo activity, and something where you don't interact with other people. The reality is you're interacting with other people all the time, not only with other programmers to work out who is going to do what as part of your tasks, but also explaining your code to people who are newer than you, explaining what you're trying to do to a senior when you get stuck on a problem, but also talking to clients and working out what they want and what they expect. So there are a lot of people skills involved. So any opportunity you can find to talk shop with other people in the industry is absolutely essential, or are absolutely essential, and you should take every single one. Not only because it puts you in their mind should a position come up that they hear about, but also just because it gives you that experience of seeing how it really is in the world. Hackathons or group projects, they don't even have to be done. The hackathon format, I'm not actually a huge fan of, just like cramming all this stuff into a short period of time. But I do think that there is a lot to be said for doing group projects with other people, especially 2 or 3 other people would be ideal. So any people you know who are software engineers, who are developers, or who even, I guess maybe like Benjamin used to be designers, working with these people to create some sort of small website of some sort, even that is a good experience. Not only from the technical side, of course, you get those technical skills, but also from the social side. So in Benjamin's case, we don't have him here, we've lost him, but I would say that the thing that he has already is a tiny bit of a network. He's got this Discord community in the Odin project, which is great. So he has access to other people around his level who he can work with. But in addition to that, he's also got this startup, this e-commerce startup that he mentioned where his friend works. So here he has 2 really good connections, and I think he should really foster those. The only other thing I can think of that would be very obvious to me, because his English is very good, especially, would be to write a blog. Blogs hold so many different beneficial things to them. Oh, Benjamin, hi, you're joining again. Yes, I understand, no problems. Blogs have a lot of benefits because they not only give you experience in writing what you're learning, which helps reinforce what you're learning, but they also act at the time of applying to jobs as a bit of proof that you're interested in tech and that you know what you're talking about. Because for career changers like Benjamin and like me, the biggest problem, I suppose, is that a lot of companies view you as a risk, especially compared to a computer science graduate. So you need to reassure them that you are worth the risk or that you are not a risk. And the best way to do that is through portfolio projects, recommendations from other people. Yeah, so people who can say, yes, Benjamin is a great guy. Yes, he is really into tech. Yes, I've seen some of his work and it's good. He shows great potential. So those 2 things. But then also, yes, you need to have this proof. So that would be the big thing I would say. We still don't have Benjamin back, so I guess if there are any people in chat who want to ask a question, then feel free to fire away and I'll do my best. Otherwise, this might end up being a short evening for us all. We'll see how we go. But yeah, that's one of the things that I've really been thinking a lot about lately. For those who don't know, I've been writing a book on changing careers into tech, on building a programming career. And one of the biggest things that I'm focusing on, and one of the biggest angles that I'm working, so to speak, is the idea of minimizing risk during applications. Minimizing or negating risk so that you're in a position where, rather than having recruiters be like, oh, you don't really fit the mold, or you're not really what we were expecting to find, they're more excited to get you on board, because they're actually, by starting a blog or having any sort of social media presence, posting on LinkedIn is a really good one. All of these things, if you do those three things, you are already ahead of 99% of what most people put out there online that is findable by an employer. So that would be one of my big takeaways for everyone. And with that said, do I have a blog myself? Yeah, busted. Yes, I do. Thank you for the question. I don't post so often to it now, especially now that I'm working 40 hours a week in tech. I tend to prefer not to write more about technical topics by the end of the week. It's actually part of why I like talking tech and talking careers and talking the personable or the personal and career side of things, because for me, my head is full of tech talk all day, every day, and then I much prefer to talk about what people are actually up to, what they're doing. But if you are interested in looking back through time, you can see my old blog posts. It's very easy. It's blog.annamcdougall.com. I can even type that into chat for you if you like. Oops. Oh, okay. No, it's asking me to sign in. Okay. Well, it's blog.annamcdougall.com. What would I post on LinkedIn? Yeah, great question. I've got 2 videos about LinkedIn, so I really recommend hopping over to my channel and having a look at those. But the basic idea with LinkedIn, to my mind, is that you should treat it like Twitter, but for careers. Oh, we've got Benjamin back. Great. Ben, how much? I know. I know. It happened to me just before this stream, so I get it.
I am so sorry about that.
No, you
There was
don't.
just
No
some
need to
power
apologize at
fluctuations
all.
I had to deal with.
It's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
So basically, what I've been saying while you were gone, the basic idea is that you have some really good connections already that you can use. But one of the things that, when I have actually done interviews for young developers, one of the things that we often ask is, have you ever coded in a team? Have you ever created something with someone else? Because it's a very different experience, right? When you're coding by yourself, then you can kind of have full control over what is created, in what order, how you name things. You've got the full overview of everything that's happening. But when you're coding in teams, suddenly you only see one part of it and you don't get to make all the decisions, and someone else does something in a completely different way than you were expecting, and that impacts you, and it changes things a lot. So I guess my question to you is, do you have any opportunities to code in a team, or have you taken any opportunities to code in a team or in a pair? Oh,
Yes. So
oh, we lost you for a while.
hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you again now, yes.
Okay, is it better now?
It is much better.
Okay, okay. So what I was saying, you asked whether I've coded with a team before, right? App called Gather Town. So it works more like Zoom, Google Meet, but you can meet as a group. So often when you go there, there are people there just like myself who are also beginning. So they have various stages. So they have people who are new, just looking at the basics, intro to software development. They have people who are doing HTML, people who are doing CSS, JavaScript. So you go there and you find your level, and then you join people there. So I went there consistently for some weeks, and I got to met some few people there. So I have like some three people that I sometimes meet with. So sometimes on the weekend we'll meet, we'll do some work together, but just basic stuff. We just create some one page website here and there,
That's
try to style
great.
it with
No,
some
that's
CSS.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's already really awesome because one of the things that I was just about to talk about is LinkedIn. And I don't know how much LinkedIn is used in Ghana, but I can imagine it's used, and you might even be looking for remote positions. I'm not sure. Um, in which case, I would really recommend like becoming active on LinkedIn as much as you can. And I think I might have lost you here, but I'm going to keep talking in the hope that you'll come back. One of the things that is most overlooked on LinkedIn is actually the recommendations section. And
Okay.
if you can get like a few friends or people with good job descriptions to say like, yes, Benjamin is great to work with, produces good code. He can take direction. He can take feedback, because that's one of the things that people are terrified of, right? When they're looking to hire someone who hasn't worked professionally as a developer before, what they're scared of is that they're going to find spaghetti code that's not well structured, that the person won't know how to talk about code. So being able to explain what you've done and how you've done it, you're a really good communicator, so I don't think that's going to be a problem for you. But certainly it is a problem for a lot of people that they are very good at coding, but then when it comes to explaining what they've done, they kind of freeze up or they just use too much jargon. So that's a good skill to develop. It sounds like you're developing that. And yeah, start posting on LinkedIn. I would say start posting sooner rather than later. Even just like 100 days of code kind of stuff, you can put that stuff on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah. So
Anything
when I was
you,
about to ask you what kind
yeah,
of stuff should I post there?
exactly. So like, so for example, anything career related that you post on Twitter, you can post on LinkedIn.
Cool. Cool.
Great thing about LinkedIn is that it is literally like a whole platform designed for bragging and just talking about how great you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't have to like worry about like, oh shit, am I like making myself sound too amazing? Like no, you just go for it. And so those are the big pieces of advice I'd have. It sounds like you're already on the right track with most of those, though.
But how? Yes. Okay. So I wanted to ask
Yeah,
about how about when I went off, I was listening and I realized at a point in time we were talking about
yeah,
blogging. If you
yeah,
could focus more on that, I will be glad.
yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first. Firstly, I'm not a good blogger. I'm a very inconsistent blogger. It's kind of like me and YouTube. It's part of why I'm trying to do these weekly streams now, because my problem has always been consistency, and with blogging it's a good thing to have. Even if you just post once a week or once every 2 weeks, that's really great. My general guideline for blogging is to, because of course I'm guessing your question is like, what do I write about?
Exactly.
My general guideline is whatever you had trouble with a week to 2 weeks ago that you solved, that's what you write about, because then it's fresh enough that you remember how painful it was to to overcome, and you remember why you were confused about it and what was confusing about it, so you can describe the problem or the confusion that the reader might have, but you also have solved it, and you by this stage have had some time to process why your solution worked. So it's not so fresh that you're maybe just guessing how it's working. You're like, I don't know, it's working, I don't know how. By that point, you've hopefully understood that. So for example, one of my earliest blog posts was on the difference between class and ID with CSS selectors or with HTML elements. Now, it's obviously not like groundbreaking writing. Like, I'm not shattering any minds, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's useful, and I got a lot of feedback about that being useful for
Because
Git and the command line. I also did some basics on that, and I got a lot of feedback from people who, I think sometimes, everyone has a different way of explaining things, and sometimes your
yeah.
way will just happen to be the way that works for someone out there who couldn't understand it before.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's a good way to put your name out there. It's a good way to show that you're interested, and to show a little bit of expertise, even if it's at the early stages. It doesn't matter. I really believe there is no topic too small for a blog post. So
Yeah, because one thing also is that sometimes you feel like you have an idea you want to write
yeah.
about something, but you start to feel that okay, like many people have already written about it again. Why bother? And what different thing can you write again? This thing has already been talked
No,
about
don't
over
worry
and
about it.
over again.
I don't know if you know the saying, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't worry about reinventing the wheel. The wheel is good. The wheel works, So
Yeah,
just
yeah,
just
I
write
get it.
about what you know. Write about what you feel comfortable talking about. One of my fears when I started doing technical writing, I was scared someone was going to show up and be like, well, actually, I think you'll find. And surprisingly, that happens very rarely, and usually only on more advanced concepts, because they're attracting more advanced readers. If you post a blog article on CSS selectors, the people who are going to read it are going to be other beginners, and they're going to be people who are trying to work it out. So they're much more interested in can they learn from what you're writing than whether this is the newest post or whether no one else has written about it or
Yep,
whatever.
yep,
Like,
that's
they don't
true.
care. So you've got to think about it from their perspective, that you're helping them. But it also helps you, because you're, again, going back to this idea we said earlier, you're learning how to communicate your code, and you're learning how to communicate the ideas around code. And that's a really important skill.
Okay, so I don't know if you can move away from the blogging
Yeah,
side.
sure.
Yeah. So one thing I'm just curious about is at what point in time, because there's so many things to learn, you can never learn everything there is to learn.
No.
I'm sure you yourself, you are still learning every now and then. So at what point in time do you actually know that, okay, this is the time now I can start applying for jobs?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I get this question a lot. This is what I think. Okay, I think that it never hurts to apply for jobs at any stage at all. Why? Because if you aren't at the right level, then they'll say no.
Okay.
And you don't lose anything. Yeah, maybe a little bit of time, yeah, in applying, but what you can get there is feedback about what you still need, what you would still need to get to that level. And if you make a good personal impression, so let's say you apply for this job as a junior front-end engineer, and a recruiter talks to you. Normally the first interview that they have is more about you as a person, to see if you're someone they want to work with. They don't normally jump into a technical interview. So the first interview will be like, who are you? Where are you from? Why are you interested in tech? Tell us about your background, blah, blah, blah. And And if you make a good impression there, that's usually where they'll send you to the technical interview. But also if you explain your experience and they don't think it's suitable, then they'll probably not send you to a second interview there anyway. But the good thing about that is, especially in your case, because you are a very good communicator, as I said before, you're clearly a very friendly person. That always helpful. So I think you will make a good impression in a first interview. That's just my opinion, but it's how it seems to me. And if I were interviewing you and we started talking about tech and I was like, he's not quite there yet, I would be calling you or emailing you or whatever and saying, look, I'm really sorry, we're not going to be sending you on to the next stage, but please contact us again in 5 to 6 months and let us know what you're doing. Or like keep sending me, like send me the next time you complete a big project, send it to me and let me have a look. Or something like that. Now, of course, not every recruiter is nice and not every person gets back to you. But I would say there's nothing wrong in the early stages. You've been learning for 3 months, so it is very early still. But I don't think there's anything wrong with putting feelers out. So maybe don't go into like full-on job application mode, but start producing those blog posts, start like getting a bit more active on LinkedIn, and start like applying to a job here or there if it sounds like it's at a good level. But the other good thing that you can do to get that idea of whether you're really ready or not is actually to contact recruiters in your area, or who are hiring remotely as well, I guess, to say like, hi, I'm Benjamin, this is my experience, this is what I'm learning, here's my blog, here's my profile, whatever. Would I be suitable for this position that you've advertised recently, or would you have 5 or 10 minutes to tell me what the market is like here so that I can get an idea of whether I'd be ready to apply yet? Recruiters are usually good people to contact because they understand the value of medium to long-term relationships. So even if they, again, don't think you're ready now, they might be willing to have a 5 or 10 minute phone conversation with you because they're just like, well, it's good, he could be amazing in a year or two. Or like you get hired your first junior position in 3 to 4 years, you could be a senior and then you're someone they really, really want. So it can be good to just contact them. Sorry, I know I'm talking quite a lot right now, but the other
yeah, that's good.
People that it's good to contact on LinkedIn are actually, so for example, if you see a job is being advertised in your area and you aren't sure if you should apply or not, my general guideline is if you meet 50% of the criteria, then you should apply. But even if you meet that, a really good thing is, as I said, contact the recruiter and ask them directly on LinkedIn, just in a message, and say, should I apply for this job? Because it just gets you noticed more than sending an application through their website. And the second thing is to look on LinkedIn, search around and see if you can find a software engineer or a developer who works at that company, in that team, or on that product, and actually send them a message and say, hey, I saw this job was advertised. I'm thinking of applying, but I want to hear from you what the company culture is like. Do they provide any mentoring or something that can help people newer to tech, or should I wait until I'm like a year or two in before I apply? Because the worst that can happen, as I said, is that they say, no, you're not ready, but you've made a contact there and you have someone you can talk to. So it's all about kind of like slowly putting, like an octopus, slowly putting those tentacles out and just seeing who's out there and what's out there and letting them know that you exist, basically, is the first step.
Exactly. So like you said, it's about gradually building that relationship with the people who eventually
Yeah,
can lead you to getting a job. Yeah, rather
exactly.
than just waiting till when you feel that okay, this is the time, you come to them and you be like a completely new person to them. They have no idea who you are, where you've been all this while, and that might take a little bit of time.
Exactly. And don't forget as well that if you contact them on LinkedIn, you add them as connections, right? They're then seeing when you post your blog posts. They're then seeing when you give your updates about 100 days of code. You can stay in their mind in a little bit there. And then when their friend says, "Oh, I'm creating this startup. I just need to find 3 people to like help me get started with this company." Maybe they think, "Oh, I remember that guy who messaged me like a few months ago who said he really wanted an opportunity. Maybe I should contact him and see if he's still free." You know, these kinds of things can happen, and it's just about, yeah, being existing in their minds. And then when you do get to the stage of creating your portfolio site and putting up, I would say 2 to 3 excellent projects that really show off your skill, just plug it on LinkedIn, you know, and try to get people looking at it and getting feedback on it. And just doing these things, like you've already like tripled or quadrupled your chance of getting a job. Just with these little messages here and there, little tendrils sneaking out. Yeah, I mean LinkedIn is really an amazing place to form those connections. And of course, if your friend has a chance to look at some of your code and or review some of your code, definitely get a recommendation from him on LinkedIn as well, because that's very valuable.
Okay, so how about uh, sometimes you're working on something, you
Mm-hmm.
feel like this thing should be easy to do it, and then you just get stuck, you can't find your way around it, and it starts to make you feel like maybe this whole coding programming thing just isn't the right field for me. In moments like that, how do you deal with those things as well?
So let me see if I'm understanding correctly. You're saying like, how do I keep myself motivated in those moments where like I'm not understanding anything,
Yes, and you
basically?
feel like okay, maybe just forget about it. Maybe this isn't the right thing for you to
I
do.
would say just keep thinking about the money.
Huh. No, that's a good one. Actually, that's a good one.
Just think about it as you're working hours. Yeah, like you're putting in hours for future paychecks.
Huh.
That helps me, or helped me a lot. I guess I had an advantage in that I quite quickly joined a course, so I had to go. So
Okay.
that social pressure helps. You said you've got a little group of people who sometimes meet up. It might be
Yes.
good if you all like do like a weekly check-in, like just to say, oh, like keep each other up to date about where you're at, because that creates a little bit of pressure to keep progressing each week and to keep explaining each week what's happening. Um, and the other thing is, like, don't be, and I suspect you're not, but don't be afraid to ask for help if you get really stuck. I laughed earlier because you said, I guess maybe you're still learning things from time to time. We're all learning things all the time. There's not, this is the job. Like, this is the job where you are always learning. There is always something you don't know how it works, and you have to find
Yeah,
out.
and
And
sometimes it can get intimidating because
yeah,
initially, before I started, all I thought I needed was just learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then you're good to go. Now I start and there's this thing called Git. I have to deal with it, and after Git, there is Chrome Dev Tools. I have to learn how to use it. There's all these
yep.
different tools, and I feel like I didn't know all these things was part of the package. I thought it was just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then we are done.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like I wouldn't say the lie that goes around, but maybe the misconception that is pushed is like, oh, you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then like that's it, like you're done. But actually, I feel like people say that just to get you deep enough that you then realize you've got to learn something else and you got to keep going. Yeah, I mean, are you working on learning React or Vue or anything like that?
No, I have not started. So currently, I'm learning JavaScript DOM.
Okay, cool,
So
nice.
that's where I'm
That's the
at now.
fun stuff. That's where the fun begins. Um, it's a learning. It's a hurdle, right? I would say DOM manipulation is one of the points where a lot of people end up dropping because they might have understood the basic concepts of JavaScript, but then trying to combine that with HTML and CSS can really break people's minds.
Yes, yes.
But I will say this, it is one of the most satisfying things to learn. So once you've kind of got it, once things start clicking, it's like, oh, I can do that. And that means I could also do that. And that means, and it kind of all
Yeah.
starts processing. So it's a really fun time. But yes, I can understand why you would sometimes feel a bit freaked out. Don't sweat it. We're all learning all the time. Just keep asking for help. Keep using those Discord channels. And yeah, I'd say all in all, that's one of the most important things because the worst person to work with when you're in a developer team, and I'm talking like anywhere from 3 to 10 people, the worst person to work with is the person who thinks that they know everything technically and they can't take any feedback and they don't ask for any help and they don't talk to you and you have no idea what they're thinking or what they're doing or where they're at. So it's really a good skill to practice, keeping communication open. This is what I'm enjoying. This is what I'm learning. This is what I'm struggling with. And just keep reflecting. That's part of why I think 100 Days of Code is so good, and why LinkedIn is
I'm
good for
currently
it,
doing it.
because you can also keep on LinkedIn, you don't have the character limit of Twitter, right? So you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
do a long post about what you're doing, what you're up to. And yeah, I think it's very valuable.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So today's day 22 for me actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
congratulations. That's good.
yeah. Thank you. So let me just find out from you. I read your story and it seems you started really well. And when you started, it's like you're not just doing it. You really had some sort of a plan in place. But then I want to find out from you, looking back,
Hmm.
if you were to start all over again, if you were to be in that position where you are now about to start, are there some things that you would have done differently?
I think it's really hard because I feel like Germany is a little bit special in that they are very, very caught up on certifications. So, for
Okay.
example, I personally feel like I would have learnt more technical skills not doing my course and just learning by myself because I was very, very good at learning by myself. And I feel like the Odin project was a great way to learn by myself. Um, and it worked for me. It was great. So, from a technical perspective, that's probably what I would do differently. But then again, as I said, being in this course meant that I had to work in teams all day, every day, communicate all day, every day, and it meant that I got the certification. And I'm not sure that I would have gotten my job if I didn't have the certification at the end of the course. So,
Mm.
I mean, the truth is I got a job way earlier than I expected. So I'm already like feeling so lucky that, that
Yeah,
I
yeah, but I don't think it was. I mean, it was just pure luck. Definitely, it's because of some of the things that you did that
yeah.
put you in that position,
Well, I mean,
right?
I know it was because I got it through this Twitter video, and the only way that I was able to have a Twitter video spread that widely was because I had built up an audience and a network on Twitter, because I didn't know that much about LinkedIn when I first got started. I used it a little bit, but if I suppose that's a good thing. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about LinkedIn, but if I would go back, I would probably document more of what I did on LinkedIn. Whereas before, I really did only post kind of official sort of things on it. I didn't post more personal stuff on there. And actually, I think that the personal journey stuff actually does quite well on LinkedIn, and people like knowing more about how people are progressing. So probably I should have done more of that, but certainly I did well on Twitter, and that's why my video was able to make it the way it did. So yeah. And for what it's worth, I don't think YouTube helped me much with getting a job. YouTube is I feel like YouTube's quite hard to grow on. So I can't truly recommend YouTube as like the best use of someone's time. It's more like if you enjoy making videos, then do it. But otherwise, I feel like it's a bit of a time sink.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, for me, I have a LinkedIn, I have a Twitter as well. Twitter just recently, but I've been trying. I've been trying to connect with some other developers on Twitter, but LinkedIn, I haven't been doing much. Actually, I haven't even set up my profile very well. So now that you've mentioned it, I think I need to take some time,
Yeah.
take a look at it, and really put the get a profile in shape so that I can start using that place as well.
Well, I can definitely recommend on my channel, there's a conference presentation that I did. It's quite a long video. It's about 40 minutes, but it's called Getting Your First Tech Job on LinkedIn. And
Okay.
it's got like basically every hint I could throw in there is in there. So I can really
It's on
recommend that
this
one.
your
Yeah, on
YouTube
this channel.
channel?
Yep,
Okay, okay, I'll
exactly.
have a look at it.
Yeah. And I've actually got another one on LinkedIn as well, but I think the conference presentation is the better one, so I would go with that one. And other than that, of course, connect with me on LinkedIn,
Sure, sure, I will.
and continue to talk to me on Twitter, because I really want to keep seeing what you're doing and how things are going for you. And yeah, as I said earlier, LinkedIn contact, just also like don't even wait for jobs, like just contact developers in your area, like in your city or whatever, and be like, hey, I'm here, I exist. What's the market like? Do you know, are there any particular technologies I should be thinking of learning when my course is finished? Anything like that. So you can really just start opening conversations with 2 or 3 people in your area. I did that, and actually managed to make a really good friend just by randomly contacting this guy on LinkedIn
Oh,
in
okay.
my city. So it can work.
Okay, okay. And I'm also curious, there in tech there are a lot of things one can do. And for me, initially I chose web development
Mhm.
because initially I thought that was all there is. Like I knew there were these other stuff, but I thought
Yeah.
like that's not for me. Like I didn't know much about it. Now that I know, I'm a bit confused. So how do you settle on which one, or will you
Hmm.
just say I should just take one, focus on it, and maybe as I dive deep into it, I'll get to know more about the others? So how do you really decide? Okay, I want to learn web development or data science or this or that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like with anything, right? Like you kind of have to just do it for a while, and then you start noticing that certain things hold your interest more than other things. Um, so for example, for me, I always I was always looking for front end positions, but then at my work they taught us more about the back end, and I learned Java and Kotlin and like back end languages, and suddenly I was like, oh, I really like this. It's like, and it just kind of took my interest. So even now, of course, because I have that front end background, I am better at front end, but I know in my heart of hearts now that I am a full stack developer. I know that I love the front end. I like doing it. I'm good at it. But I also enjoy knowing what the back end is doing, being able to adjust the data that I get, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that. But of course, I didn't know that before I had tried it. So I would say don't worry too much about it. If you're still at the point of learning about DOM manipulation, then I would say really just focus in on that. And because the thing is, once you learn JavaScript really well, like once JavaScript is in your bones, it will be much easier at that point to learn other languages in the future if you want to and if you need to. Whereas, again, a common beginner mistake is to hear, oh, JavaScript's great and Python's great and Java's great, and then people like try to learn little bits of everything and it's a mess. So the core concepts between programming languages are actually very, very similar. So if you can learn one really well, and in this case, you're already at a really good stage with JavaScript, so I would say just keep going down that path. But if you can learn that really, really well, it will be much easier to learn future languages.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Benjamin, I might wrap us up there, but thank you so much for coming along.
I think I've learned a lot. I was actually taking notes here.
Oh, wonderful. I like that. That's good.
I'll go through it again just to consolidate the knowledge more. And I also appreciate having me on. I'm really grateful. Let me say, this is the first time I'm doing something like this. And I'm really grateful. Thank you very much.
Well, you sound like someone who is excited and passionate and keen to reach outside your comfort zone. And I think that's really, really important with technology in general. So I think just keep that up. Keep embracing being uncomfortable, because that's a huge part of the learning process. So enjoy it, enjoy the process. And as I said, add me on LinkedIn and let me know how things go. I'm gonna keep an eye on Twitter, and I want to see more from you, and I'm excited to see where you go.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again. Bye.
All right.
All right. So thank you everyone for coming along. I've not been looking at chat at all, so I am so sorry to anyone who has been asking questions in chat. I'm glad someone liked my joke about the money. I'm from Germany. Yes, we love degrees, but as someone with a degree, I am not needed in tech and mostly a waste of money. Yeah, and as I said, I didn't have a degree. I didn't get a degree, but I did get a certification, what's called a Weiterbildung in German, which is like further education or further certification. And that was part of what got me across the line, I think, in getting my job. I mean, I wasn't on my own hiring team, so you have to ask them, but I'm pretty confident that had a lot to do with it. So yes, Germany is a little bit unique in that way. All right. Oh, thanks, JHM. I appreciate your contribution to chat. And I guess with that said, we're going to wrap up. It has been a lovely hour. I'm sorry about the tech problems I had, and then Benjamin had some tech problems too. So we've all had a few little issues tonight, but all in all, I think it's been a good stream. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to leave your feedback. And also, as a reminder, my book is currently on Kickstarter. I'm over 50% of the way to my goal, but still a long way off from reaching it. So if you are interested in changing careers into tech, then yeah, I think it's a really good book. I mean, I obviously think that because I'm writing it, but I really do think it will be packed full of knowledge just like this. So please feel free to contribute to that. And with that said,